right, folks, and we are back. Excellent. The name of the game is Winds of War. The name of the episode is Scales of Power, dungeon mastered by our good friend Drew Murray over there. We're going to transition into what we call group therapy. We're going to check in with our characters and see how they feel about the present moment. And I'll go ahead and start with Eigner. My name is Kyle, and I play Eigner Bosh. And Eigner Bosh feels like. How does he feel? He feels like he is on the cusp of discovering something very significant. He knows that there's some dirty, mysterious shit going on. He knows that Garth is behind it. Whether or not Garth is actually behind it remains to be seen, but based on the evidence that Eigner has collected so far, he's completely convinced that whatever dirty shit is going on, Garth is behind it. So they've got this mission to go to the South Coast. That's a pressing issue. They need more information about what's happening there. But after that's done, Eigner's motivation is to try and track down Garth and get some kind of answers about what is going on. I'm done.
Go ahead, Eridu.
Yeah, Eridu is, damn. He got a lot going on. He's pretty much going through a state of reliving aspects of the past, and he pretty much just tortured and murdered a guy in all the ways that all the other druids were tortured and murdered. I think he's probably in a fairly good state of shock right now. I did have some things that I wanted to say to the druids at some point, but I think that'll happen in the final wrap up of the episode, not right now since we're already on our way to the coast. But Eridu's hanging in by a thread. He's not doing too well.
Shit.
I would say Alton is softened but still tense about the situation with the druids. There is no danger of him leaving right now. But he is currently still in this like kind of hot-blooded mood. And I think that, like I said, I don't think there's any danger of him leaving. I don't think there's any danger of me retiring Alton currently. But he still feels like this, like I don't have a word. I don't have a word for it. I have a feeling for it. But he feels like this like manic aggression, I guess, that hypervigilant about the situation as a whole, and I'm going to assume, or for after this episode, he's going to need to take some time off to think. I don't know how long it's going to be between episodes, but it's probably going to be most of that time is going to be essentially on a little bit of a walkabout to assess and reassess his feelings currently. So I think that's where he's at right now.
Well, all right. So our dungeon master had to step out for a hot minute, and that's all well and good because there's plenty of stuff that our characters can talk about, and we know where we're at. We're on the wagon. We're heading out. I'm going to say that Eigner is taking responsibility for actually being the one driving the horses, and you guys we're all just, you can chill, or you can like walk and have your own conversation, or we can all talk together. We're just taking it at an easy pace right now.
I don't think Eridu would be too receptive to begin conversation. as far as like if someone talks to him, he'll talk, but for the most part, he's just probably gonna sit at the end of the wagon and just
Okay.
think things over.
Okay. Well, if y'all are close enough and we have this situation going on where no one's necessarily talking, then Eigner will be the first to speak, and we can say it's a misty kind of day. It's very quiet. There's something eerie in the air. The only thing that we can hear is the clopping of the horses as they trot along. And Eigner takes a long, deep breath in and a sigh and just looks at the both of you and says, I don't think that was entirely necessary back there.
Alton remains silent currently. To Eigner, I acknowledge that Eigner spoke. Like, that's obvious. If you want to know any other information, I would say
Nice, Drew.
Do an insight check. But
I don't need to do any insight check. No, he's just putting it out there. And if there's another like long silence that hangs in the air, he'll let it hang for a little bit, and he'll say more like again to like both of you or just in general, just say you can't take on the responsibility of being judge, jury, and executioner. No one person should take all of those roles. It's an abuse of power.
Yes, I think you are right. I have been giving this all quite a bit of thought. The druids and I will be having conversations when I return to your camp.
Yes. I wonder what we'll find when we return to my camp, Eridu. I wonder what we'll find.
I do not know.
Yeah, you can take over, Drew.
Okay. I didn't want to like smother the conversation, but we are trundling along in the wagon. For the last 3 sessions, what has happened is I, as Dungeon Master, have taken the wheel, so to speak, and described a vision that the characters have had, a vague memory that they have of events that they do not clearly remember the run-up to. And this session is the first session without that. Recent events are just fresh in people's minds. A lot of strange things have happened. These strange things seem punctuated by a strong, warm breeze, which seems to be accompanying this thunderous roll through the air. As they are heading towards the south coast on this trail, the weather seems to have turned against them. The warm airs are giving rise to storms. The wind has picked up, clouds are darkening. You now have massive gusts of wind blowing against you, coming in from the ocean side. Anything that you guys are wanting to be doing on the journey? There's no special actions required to be able to get to the south coast, but if there's anything that you wanted to do in particular, let it be known.
Is it sensible to assume that Eigner has a map of Yrden?
It would be sensible to assume that. Do you want to have a map of the area?
Yeah. Definitely.
then yes, you'll have
Excellent.
a map.
Excellent. So Eigner is going to be trying to plot a course, and if it has to take them slightly more inland, then let that be so. But he's going to try and find a way to get some like windbreak from some trees. If there's a way to if there's a path that leads through the forest somehow, then he's going to recommend that they try and take that path and get out of the storm.
Okay. I just need to check out one of the scores. It's not listed down there. Eridu, could you tell me your passive perception, please?
Ooh, I could. It will take me a moment because I was not on my character.
Would you like my passive perception?
I would like your passive perception.
22.
Jesus.
Yes. Minus 15. No, that's insight. Minus 15. Yep. It didn't change.
Eridu is 15. Alton is 22.
I keep forgetting Alton took that stupid.
What feat is it?
Observant feat.
Observant.
It is one of the. It is
Gnarly.
probably one of the two biggest DM bane feats.
Oh yeah.
Like
it's
that,
it's
like,
what, a +5 to your passive perception or some crap?
Yeah, passive perception and passive investigation.
Yeah.
So that means that even if disadvantage were to be imposed, even if it was the dead of night and you could make out naught but silhouettes, you would still have a passive perception of 17.
pretty good.
You know, you can stack on a whole bunch of things and actually really reduce that. There's a whole bunch of ways of mitigating that.
Yeah. But even then, it's still gonna be.
It's still work. You have, as a DM, you got to be like, oh, how do I subvert this passive perception? You have to-
Yeah. Either way, no, he's and he has high wisdom.
So what does Alton inevitably see?
Before I get to that, Eigner, what is your passive perception?
Oh, that's only 15. Same as
Only
Eridu's.
Only 15.
Only 15. I got decent wisdom. Decent.
Tell that to a level 1 fighter. Anyway.
I mean, we are level, what, 8 now? 6?
Six.
6.
Yeah,
Close.
man.
Yeah.
We're up there, man.
Getting up there.
As you divert through a forest to get away from these harsh winds blowing in from the coast, a rustling in the trees at first betrays some local nesting birds, but there's something else to it. Something disturbed them in the first place. They're roosting high. Nothing should have disturbed them from down where you are. And as you're about to leave the forest, it seems that a dark shape, a humanoid one, has been following you on your trail. It hasn't made any moves towards you. It hasn't even made attempts to get your attention or anything. It seems to be watching.
Alton's the
we
one
can-
that notices this, right?
Alton is the one that notices at first. By the time you guys are leaving the forest, your 15s are enough to notice.
I'm just going to stare at it.
Well, with my telepathy, before we leave the forest, I would have told the other two about the shadowy figure, without obviously playing or showing my hand.
Well, just before we leave the forest, Eigner's at this point where he has this mindset. He's just not having any of it, really, at all. So he slows the horses down. Whoa, boy. Whoa, boy. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Slows them down to a stop. Slowly gets up from the seat. Hops down to the ground with a thunk. And then he just turns and just starts slowly walking toward the shadowy figure.
All right, Eridu will, without a word, follow.
Okay.
I would like to send Domini a little like with them and make kind of a ruckus a little bit, and then like not be loud, but kind of
Be playful.
like not necessarily playful, but be like be obvious. Like
Yeah.
make it so that way she like draws a lot of attention. So I don't know what command I would use. I wouldn't necessarily say playful, but I would be like, or I would say maybe like, I'd probably say play, but she wouldn't be playful per se. It'd be like, go play. Like that would just be like a basic kind of command that she would have. And I guess how you want to have her interpret that in the situation, that's up to you. Based on the intelligence of a wolf. And then I'm gonna take that opportunity to slip around and sneak, stealthy, and try to flank this creature.
Okay, in that case, give me a stealth roll, please.
Okay. Oh yeah. 25.
25. Okay.
My, how you must hate me.
Do you remember when this party couldn't like stealth and like
At all.
sneak to save its life?
My, how things have changed.
Yeah.
In all fairness, that was when Alton wasn't around.
Yeah.
Sure.
So
Dexterity? What's dexterity?
Yeah, I know.
I
Right?
still don't know. So Drew, I want to tell you on my approach. I do have my shield out. It is on my shield arm. I am very purposely leaving my sword in its sheath. Don't have my sword hand anywhere near it. You know, just really trying to pose no immediate threat. But Eigner's got to have a shield on. You know, that's always an option for him.
You see the shadowy figure move to behind the bark, move out from the other side, draw on a short bow, launch an arrow that lands at your feet. By the time you look back up to where she was, she's gone.
Okay.
Alton, sneaking up from behind, sees that what's happened is, as she pulled herself around the bark, she then put her hands into it and sort of pulled the bark apart like a curtain and went inside and allowed the bark to close behind her.
That's dope. Sneaky.
I guess I don't know if I need to make an active passive or perception, or if you want me to make an active perception roll or not. But
There's nothing springing to mind that warrants that.
he is not stupid. He is assuming. I don't think he's a high enough level to know that spell, but he is. He's not stupid to assume that walking into a tree
You could do
means that
so.
they're
You could
staying
do
there.
you could do like an Arcana check or something.
Okay,
That would be the one.
Yeah. Oh yeah, net 20. So
Nat 20.
21 if you're not doing that 20 for skill checks, but 21.
Okay. It appears that she's used a spell that you know isn't a thing. You have never encountered anyone with this ability before. Different to what you were told about with the drow before, where one of them could through a tree, use that as a conduit to another realm. It seems that what she's done is stay here, but move. It's a teleportation of some kind, using the tree as a conduit. So it's on the same principles, but a completely different manifestation of it.
Right.
If anything, you would call this a sort of tree stride.
What? I mean, I guess that makes sense, right? They're striding through trees, stepping in and out. Okay, yeah, I like that name. Alton is proud of himself for thinking of that name.
But yes, if you were to somehow learn of this, this is an ability that you reckon quite a few wizards would pay a lot of coin to get a hold of.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I'm gonna definitely like eyes swivel, or head swivel on that. If I figure if I get that if that gets put in my brain, I'm I'm going to assume that's not a far traveling spell.
Yes, what you'll be able to determine from the amount of arcane energies used, you know that she's not traveled to like the other side of the planet or anything.
Right.
You also note that there's like a distinctive smell, sort of chlorine smell, in the air now that she's used that spell. And you reckon
so
that
use a chlorine spell smell to like track the ingress and ingress.
yes.
Okay.
Well, Eigner, after he doesn't see the shadowy figure anymore, and he looks down at his feet, lets out another long sigh. I just don't understand anything anymore. And he reaches down and he picks up the arrow and he studies the arrow.
It's got a wider shaft than an arrow should. You reckon that if she wasn't aiming down, this arrow wouldn't go very far at all. It's big, it's bulky, and something seems to be rattling inside of it.
Investigation check to find a way to dismantle the arrow, but not hurt myself, I guess.
What?
It's only going to be a 6. Eigner's intent on dismantling the arrow, though, to see what's inside.
The slice is coming.
Curiosity killed the cat, baby.
You look this arrow shaft over, and pulling on the head of the arrow, you break some of the wood. It seems to no longer be usable at all. Inside, you find that there is a scroll of wound-up paper, tied together with a piece of string, and what was rattling inside seems to be a small clay tile.
Okay. I open the scroll.
The scroll has writing in Elvish.
Eridu, come hither.
Eridu comes over and looks over your shoulder.
There's a scroll, and there's a small clay tile. What color is the tile?
The tile seems to be of a sort of beige coloration. It also seems to have a bit of a gloss to it, a glaze.
Have you ever seen anything like this before, Eridu?
Well, Eridu's in the middle of reading the scroll.
After you're done reading, he'll ask you that.
So, I mean, he could be asking that, but I'll be reading that scroll. Have I ever seen anything like this clay tile, though?
You have seen something like this clay tile. You've seen something like this once before. Well,
okay.
I say once before. I have described something like this once before in my episodes. This is something that you may have seen a few times before in your past.
Okay, cool.
This is something that Jolin used to be able to use the tree as a portal to another realm. He crushed this tile in his hand.
Yeah, and it moved me through the tree, and that was when I had a little chitty chat with him.
Yeah. Whoa. Okay.
And what's
the writing.
the note say?
The writing on the scroll is a very hastily scrawled note using ink, and it just says that you are to meet at the edge of the settlement. It doesn't say what settlement, it doesn't have a time, it just says meet at the edge of the settlement.
And does it like specify who? Or is it just saying you, like all of us?
It doesn't specify anyone.
Okay.
Well, it
Oh,
would.
it looks like we are to meet at the edge of a settlement with this person.
And well, I'm going to assume that you told me already about the tile. So,
Yeah, sure.
the tile, the note. Is this someone that we already know somehow? Or maybe someone that already knows us, but we don't know them? This obviously was addressed to us. I think we're meeting that person. I don't think we have any other choice but to forge on and see what comes along our path.
Yes.
Look out for a settlement.
You continue along the path leading out of the forest, heading south. The winds pick up, but thankfully you've managed to find a few hills and valleys to get you guys enough cover. It begins to get to nightfall. You guys have been traveling for most of the day, and you notice that there are lights up ahead. You can see the coast in the distance. You reckon if you forge on for another 4 hours or so, you'll get to somewhere. But this part of the south coast shouldn't have anything. There are tall cliffs leading down to the ocean below. No one settles here. There's no fishing to be had. If there was, you'd have to climb down steep cliffs.
I'm not sure what settlement we'd be meeting this person at. There shouldn't be anything out here.
There clearly is something out here. Let us proceed as
The druids were doing something.
they were. I have no idea what they could be doing, but it looks like it was a big project. Let us proceed, and let us proceed as carefully as we can. We may have to station the wagon somewhere as we get closer. If we can find a good hiding place for the wagon and the horses, yeah, we should proceed on foot at some point.
The land heading towards a settlement is very hilly, partly due to the diversion that you had to take to avoid getting the brunt of the winds. And so there are plenty of station wagon. There are plenty of hillocks to be able to hide behind, plenty of knolls, grassy knolls, not like axe knoll.
No, plenty of grassy knolls. We need to be investigating these very because we've already seen assassinations happen in this world, and you never know.
Oh my god, it could be on the grassy knoll with a big like hand axe or something. Okay. Yeah, so anyways, so we are getting closer.
When you get close enough to see the shape of this thing, that's when you've got quite a few places where you could stash the wagon.
Mm-hmm.
This is quite an industrial undertaking. You see that there's something that must span at least half a mile across at the top of the coast, and that there is a dip that was not there before. There's a wooden palisade set up, a wall perimeter. There are buildings, large warehouse structures, along with a few small huts around the place. There's lots of shouting. There's lots of movement. You can see carts coming back and forth along a trodden road. People are wearing armor, carrying torches and lanterns to light their way, operating at night. You can hear the sound of metal on stone. Some sort of mining or chipping away is going on. And it seems that within this structure, there's a long stretch of land at the coast edge that's been straightened out and stretched in an angle to create a long path down into the sea, around which there seems to be the beginnings of construction of a dock.
So Eigner's going to get what he can from this vantage point, and then he's going to do this kind of like lateral movement and see if he can get like a little more elevation here, a different angle there, and he's going to spend a good amount of time just trying to gather some intel and just try and get as many different like perspectives on this situation as possible.
Okay. Give me a wisdom ability check. Perception might be the best skill to apply to this.
Oh, God, dropping my die all over the place, man. Oh, sick. It's a 19.
By the way, oh, go on.
Dude,
I
that's
was
going to
gonna
be
ask
24.
if Alton shared any of his found information with us.
So I would have stayed in the trees while we were traveling, because I just don't know anymore. So I would have stayed there, and once we broke from the trees, then yes, I would have shared with you guys what I noticed. I will say, just because I was just going through my features, I stand corrected. My in the forest and in the coast, my passive perception is not 22. It's 27, because I have advantage on wisdom and intelligence checks in the coast and in my favored terrain. I wanted to stand corrected.
You can see like everything, man. Like nothing gets by this guy. Nothing.
I just wanted to make sure I could see almost everything except for impossible to see.
It's because he's Batman.
I am
Basically,
Batman.
He's Batman.
I'm
With
Batman.
when he's 80 stories above the city, he can see.
Yeah.
So Eigner's 24 and Alton's 27. Both of you spending a bit of time to get a few angles on this. You can tell that there's a pattern to things coming and going through the main gates. That rather than doors on hinges, these seem to be sliding wooden panels being operated by someone on the other side, all of which point to signs of hasty construction. The land itself seems to be stretched and warped. There's a lot of supports, both wooden and stone, being set into different parts along the coastline to sort of help maintain the integrity of the stone. Whatever happened here to create this sort of land bridge edging down into the water seems to have compromised the integrity of the land around it. So all this stuff's been put there to help support it. The people coming and going seem to be a combination. Some are elven, some are human, some are halfling. A good mix.
I'm gonna look at Eigner and say, this is likely the settlement that we are to meet this person outside of. Are we sure we want to do that? Or do we want to just, venture in here and treat this person as a potential threat?
I want to meet this person. I want some more information before we walk in there, and it seems like they have some more information.
This may be a slight, I'd say maybe a slight oversight. It is an oversight on my part. Did we stop and pick up Lauren along the way, or have we just left her?
I do believe we have not stated that we stopped and picked up Lauren, and I actually assumed
we were
that the
supposed
person.
to do that?
I mean, yeah, she said when we're ready to go to come get her, she's staying at such and such place.
Oh
So-
yeah, if she specified that, then we would have, it would be funny if we didn't. But I'm assuming that the characters would not.
Eridu wouldn't have suggested it because Eridu's not really in the game right now, man.
Okay. We'll assume that she was brought along for the journey then to sort of help fulfill her side of things. She offers no insight on what you all want to do, but she is shocked that this thing is here. And seeing the people coming and going, she suggests that this may be where people have been disappearing too. But she wants to find out more, find out what's going on. She wants to propose sneaking inside, and meeting this person could be an afterthought. It's entirely up to you.
Well, I know at least one of us isn't sneaking anywhere anytime soon.
There are ways around that, but I want to handle this issue right now. Eridu,
Well, what I'm saying is that those of us who can sneak around maybe should, and those of us who are less talented at it can go at it directly. That way, at minimum, I should stay unseen because she wasn't really as cognizant of my of me as she was of you guys.
Are we recommending going into this place and then having people sneak around? Is that what
Yes.
I'm hearing? This is not how these places work. They are a sort of pocket dimension. She will likely be right there waiting the second we walk through.
She's walking through trees. Then she's
I've-
not walking out of here.
I've been into one of these little things. I spoke with Jalen for a moment. We weren't actually there for that. And it essentially is just going into a space in between worlds, I guess. And it's not a very large area, and it's very obvious to see who is there when you come.
Eridu,
I think a stealth option is really available.
Eridu, will you give me
Yep.
the tile?
I hand it over.
You told me that this is what Joe, whatever his name, Jolin did.
Yes. Yes.
You crush the tile into your hand, and you smell cinnamon in the air, along with a feeling of coolness in your hand, as if the heat's been sapped away from your palm. But nothing else seems different.
I'm here. If you want to talk, now's the time.
Nothing appears to occur. The wind is still howling, the sky is now completely dark, and you're starting to hear these peals of thunder getting closer and closer. But nothing seems to have happened as a result of you crushing the tile, apart from that sensation that you had.
Am I close to a tree?
Oh, there are a few small bushes and things. You're closer to a hill than a tree, and your wagon.
Oh, okay. Well, if I'm close to any kind of vegetation, I'll try and touch the vegetation.
There's a brush of heather against the hillock, and as you touch that, the entire thing just seems to give slightly at your touch, and your hand then seeps inside. You can hear this squelching sound as if you're pressing into the guts of some beast, and it feels stringy, almost as though you're pushing through muscular fibers, but your hand then disappears into the hill.
Whoa. I'll keep going.
I'm
just
just
keep
gonna grab
pushing.
hold of Eigner. Not sure if I'll actually be able to do this on my own since I have no more tile to crush.
Holding on to Eigner, the two of you go on through. Alton, are you...
I will attempt to follow, but I'm going to hold out my two non-magical weapons, keeping them in a non-aggressive position, but also being aware that, I'm not walking into any pocket dimension without being ready to fight some shit. So we will fall, but I won't be touching them. I'm going because I can't really. So I'm just gonna follow.
Okay.
And if I smack face into a bush, I guess that's what happens.
Unfortunately, not holding on to Eigner and Eridu. That is what happens. Taking your weapons, falling in line after them. As soon as Eridu disappears into the hill, it seems solid to the touch.
I hope
Dominic,
this isn't a moment in which I need my sword, because Alton still has it.
Alton does still have it.
Dominic tried to follow you, Alton, and then as soon as you get stopped by the hill, she looks around and starts sniffing around the hill and getting very curious and starts sort of digging a little bit.
Okay. I'm gonna put my swords away and let her have her fun. Simple as that. If anyone comes by to bother me about her digging at the hole, I'll be a dick.
You guys are thankfully a good 150 feet away from the palisade wall, and even further from the nearest guard posted near the gate. So you're safe for the time being, especially with the wind and thunder howling the way that they are.
Right.
You guys are covered. Inside, a very familiar surrounding for Eridu, with subtle differences. There still seems to be this massive tree in the middle of this area, spreading its branches out and breaking into what seems to be this glassy sky made up of shards reflecting and refracting light. This sort of prismatic effect going on. Sound seems to have a similar quality to it, or it's bouncing around and echoing off things, but then halfway through a sentence your sounds will just stop dead as if you're screaming into a pillow. Standing beneath the tree, there is that same dark cloaked woman. She's wearing distinctive armor that Eridu and Eigner will both recognize. This is armor of the Drow Special Forces. These were the ones escorting the orb that they were bringing into Twin Harbors.
And do I recognize the face?
She's wearing a mask,
Okay.
but you recognize the form. This is exactly the same person that you fought on the back of the wagon.
I'm going to, set myself into a ready stance and. You. Why have you called us here?
She pushes away from the tree, looks it up and down. Then she turns to face you. Draws a sword and just walks towards you calmly, not in an attack stance, but she walks towards you with a sword drawn. She's about 10 feet away.
Well, Eigner will definitely show that he has his shield ready, and he'll calmly draw Talon's blade, and he'll say, "We have no quarrel with you. We are here to speak, and speak plainly. So please, do so."
You can feel at the back of your mind, Eigner, something like the voice. I came up with this guy and I've forgotten his name. The voice that's in your head, Zarkon. There we go.
Oh yeah.
You feel what seems to be Zarkon, but you can't make out any words. It's like he's trying to say something to you, but can't. It's like a weird sound in the background of a room. Give me a wisdom saving throw.
Son of a biscuit, dude. Son of a biscuit. What have I gotten us into, man? I'm losing my D20s like crazy. That is only a, 6, dude. Oh my gosh.
As she's walking towards you, this drow woman takes on the form of a giant spider, legs stretching out around her, plunging into the ground, which you realize now is swampy, There's a good few inches of liquid, things moving around inside of it. And as she gets closer and closer, the shape seems to shrink, but she still maintains this disgusting form around her.
Oh my god.
She then stops just in front of Eridu. She then spins the sword around and stabs it into the ground. And then she begins unfastening her armor.
Alright. Look at the sword, then look back at her. And would I recognize this as a formal challenge of some sort, or anything like that?
This is something in the Drow culture that you recognize as being a justice meeting. Something that would be done usually in civil matters, rather than those of the military or anything of the sort, to get justice. If something wasn't resolved in a jurisprudence sense, people would just duke it out.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So yeah, she takes off her armor.
Yep, she continues taking off her armor. She then takes off the armor on her legs, and she tosses them down to the ground. You see that she's just wearing like simple barding underneath. She pulls up her sleeves, and then finally takes off her mask helmet and tosses it down to the ground. At which point you recognize her, Ember. She has aged slightly since you last saw her. She now has a shock of black hair amongst her white.
Oh, that is cool.
Wait, so who is Ember though?
We'll find out. I mean, I kind of know, but I don't fully know.
She then stretches, rolls her arms, gets into a fighting stance, and puts a hand on the sword. You recognize this as the beginning of the challenge. This is a ritual duel where both parties keep one hand on the sword hilt. The first person to take the hand off loses.
What's the punishment for losing?
The punishment for losing is that
Use that sword to kill them.
the thing in contention is then considered resolved with the winning party being able to dictate terms. So if it's, say, someone's stolen your cow, or you accuse them of stealing your cow, and they say that they haven't, you duke it out. Whoever wins gets to decide who actually owns the cow.
So I'm putting my hand on top of the sword hilt as well.
Eigner's going to get really concerned because there actually hasn't been any communication. Like, there's just been a lot of, like, observation. So Eigner is going...
I mean, you would have seen probably a pretty clear look of recognition and possibly shock
For
on
sure.
Eridu's face.
Yeah. But Eigner's still going to say, like, Eridu, and his voice is shaking because he's still, like, completely rocked from that, like, vision of the giant spider person, and he's trying to, like, reckon with that. But he's
Is that still all
Eridu.
Eigner sees? Is the spider person?
That is what he sees.
Oh.
When he sees her peel off the armor, he sees the armor now discarded, lying in the swampy ground. But he still sees her as this sort of large spider-like person. It's like a spider trying to stand on its two back legs. The rest of the arms just spread out.
Grotesque. So, alright, so I'm just going to be shaking like a leaf and say, Eridu! What do I do, Eridu?
Eigner, you do nothing. This is not for you.
Okay.
This is a dispute that has a long time needing resolution.
Okay.
Are you guys familiar with the chest game, Viking chess game?
Oh,
Explain
wait.
it.
Yeah, I think I've seen it.
Yeah,
What
where
is it?
you could keep a hand on, you're blindfolded, and you've got to try and hit the other person.
Oh. No, no, I haven't. No.
It's an old Norse game, but it's essentially this. So you guys got to keep a hand on the sword, and you just punch and kick each other.
I've heard a very similar game in which you put your foot, in line with your opponent's foot. Each of you has a beer. You both take a big chug from your beer, and then you take turns punching each other in the face. And the goal is to whoever spills the beer loses.
This is
I
great.
would just go with the fight in Immortal Iron Fist between Davos and.
Oh yeah, where they're tied together.
Yeah, that was probably the most apt
Hmm.
analogy.
All right, so
no,
this fight.
that beer thing is a thing my friend actually does.
This is great. So
Okay.
this fight starts, dude.
Yeah, what we'll do is roll initiative between Eridu and Ember. We'll have 3 rounds of combat, and then if there's no resolution, we're going to skip back to Alton.
Okay, Eridu rolled a 1.
Great.
So my total is actually a 4.
Right.
Did I win? I don't.
You did.
Love it.
What?
She rolled a 2, gets a 3. You rolled a 1, get a 4.
Oh my goodness, dude.
All right.
Okay.
Let's do this. First shot is just I'm actually gonna just go and just do like a hammer down fist right on her elbow joint. Like I can just hit her anywhere, right?
Yeah. Anyway, it's fair game.
Right on the elbow joint of the hand that's holding the sword.
Ooh.
I got an 18.
Yeah, that'll definitely be enough to hit.
I rolled an 18. So there's more than that.
Yeah.
Do you roll damage and all that too?
You've got a choice here. You can either make a strength athletics to try and basically like push down her arm enough that she lets go, in the way of a shove, or try and do damage.
I'm gonna try to do damage because my athletics is a -1.
All right.
So we'll just go with the damage.
Okay. Roll for your damage.
That's 7, and then I'm gonna spend a key point and take 2 more shots on her.
Do it.
Oh, okay. No, hold on. I think I have to do that as a bonus action with my offhand. Let me just after you make an attack and return your second point to make 2 unarmed strikes as bonus action. Doesn't specify if it's offhand or main hand. So.
Do it.
All right. That is a 20 and a 7, or a 20 and a 9.
20 and a 9. So the 20 would hit, the 9 would not.
Okay, and that's 4 more damages. Like these 2 are just like, just an elbow and then just a really clumsy kick that misses.
She lets out one yelp as you strike her, and then she brings her arm around and tries to push her palm into your chest and push you away. Rolling a 2 to hit.
Nice.
As she goes to do so, you quickly manage to move your arm and deflect her hand away from you. She then spits into the water below, gathers some of the water up and tries to splash it into your eyes.
Dirty.
Could you make for me either a dexterity saving throw or an acrobatic skill check?
I'm gonna do dexterity saving throw. That is a 23.
Oh, that's like
23.
that's like a Matrix move right there. You're like.
Yeah. No, I've got a really good retort for this actually.
Yeah, dude.
Unfortunately, she still manages to splash the water into your eyes.
Wait, what?
You'll be blinded for 1 round. I got a 25.
Wait,
okay.
no, wait. That's not the way that saving throws work, though. It's like you set, like, did you set the DC at like? It's.
Oh, it was versus her skill check.
Oh,
thing.
it was a contest. Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm a much bigger fan of contests personally. Anyway.
For sure.
I'm cool with that. Oh man, I should have used deflect missiles.
Deflect the water droplets.
Right, just catch them and throw them back.
Yeah, dude.
Okay, so I'm blinded for 1 round.
That's right. And it's back around to you.
All right, I'm going to rear my fist back and just bring it full on forward at her chest, gathering all this like wind, like the power of wind into this hit. The white tattoos on my arm start to swirl and move around, and I hit her in the chest with that. She has to make, I think it's a DC 13 save throw, which she can probably do. I should tell you it's a strength saving throw. Yes.
Oh, okay. I rolled con. Strength is. I rolled an 11.
So if you have anything more than a +2, or anything a +2 or less, more, you'll do it.
She's on a 15. I didn't write down the plus.
That's +2.
Cool.
Yep.
Then it's just 13.
And the DC is 13, so I believe that
Yeah. See, she saves.
you save it.
Is there half damage on a save then?
No, that's the thing that sucks about monk abilities. Their save or suck.
For sure.
Um.
You gotta bump your dexterity, right, to get that
Okay.
bumped up.
Oh
or is
yeah,
it
no, I
wisdom?
definitely need to. So I just like hit her in the chest with that, and apparently nothing happens. Maybe she steps out of the way. Who knows?
As you punch her in the chest, that she shakes her hair wildly and shifts around the sword. The two of you sort of dancing around the thing. She then throws her hand forward to try and grab you around the back of the head and slam your head into the hilt of the sword.
Ooh.
And since
Nasty.
I'm blinded, I believe she has advantage.
No, you were blinded for only one round.
Yeah, it started on her last round.
Oh.
I'll be unblinded at the end of this turn.
Oh. That's fucked up.
Okay. 16. What's your armor class?
That will hit. My armor class is 15.
As she bounces your head off the hilt of the sword, you take 3 points of damage.
Okay, got it.
She then shouts at you, again in Elven, "Justice will be had." And that's it.
I will. Oh my god! I can do something so cool right now.
Do it.
I don't want to subvert the combat though. Like it would fuck up everything.
What do you mean? Just do it. If it's cool, do it.
All right. It depends on her answer.
Okay.
Ember, what is it you seek justice for exactly? The last time we met, or the times before that?
My father was disgraced.
Your father served blindly a fool such as I did. And he would have given me no choice. I would not have loved you, nor would I have made you happy.
I will take my justice, my love.
Oh my god.
Alright. I want to do this because it's going to be really cool. I'm going to, my hand that's grasping the sword is going to tighten on the hilt, and I'm going to cast Shatter on the sword.
Whoa.
You're gonna cast Shatter on the sword.
Wow. That's sick. Shatter's
Dude.
a dope spell. First of all,
Yeah.
Shatter's dope.
It's a hella dope spell. I got to figure out the damage of it.
I think there are certain spells like Dissonant Whispers that are underappreciated.
Yeah, Shatter's one of those spells I think is like, I just love this spell so much.
Yeah.
So I'm casting it at 2nd level, and it is 3d8 thunder damage.
We'll say that it doesn't get a
Tears
saving
to stone.
because it's an inanimate object.
I mean, yeah. Non-magical objects that isn't being worn or carried also take the damage in the spells area. If it's magic, it might just be able to avoid all this, so this might be for nothing.
Something cool's got to happen out of this, dude. That's all I'm saying. I'm curious, when you guys,
14 points of damage.
when
to the
you
sword.
and Ember were talking, were you talking in Common or Elven?
Elven.
Okay. So,
Yeah, she would have always been speaking in Elven.
and
What was the damage, sorry?
14.
It's 12. So that is it shattered. As your hand grips the sword and vibrates just slightly, channeling the key into the blade, it explodes. And as it does so, her face drops immediately and she collapses down to the floor. No! She picks up a couple of the shards along with handfuls of water, letting it all drip between her fingers. You have robbed me of my justice.
I'm gonna kneel down and take her face in my hands and look her in the eyes and say, "Stop trying to take what is not yours."
You walked away. You walked away from all of us.
You know the things that we did. You know what my father intended from us. You know the crimes we committed. I couldn't live with that any longer. How can you?
That's part of the life, part of the job, the work we do.
Sometimes the work we do is wrong. And maybe it wasn't for you, but it was for me.
She breaks down and starts crying.
that's gonna be weird from Eigner's perspective. A giant
Yes.
spider lady just losing it and crying and sobbing, and holding broken pieces of a sword in their claw, thing, legs, whatever's. That's some weird shit, and Eigner's
imagine that-
freaked.
What's happening for the most part is just your brain is making it make sense. You know, just like with a normal hallucination, you just sort of.
Yeah, Egner's
Yeah.
very disturbed. Like, no matter what he's seeing, he's just very disturbed. And the crazy thing is that he at first was interpreting this spider person as a visitation from the spider deity that he thinks he's been communing with in some kind of weird way. But it's completely not that. But he is kind of under the impression that it is that. So he is tripping out really hard right now.
You then hear a voice in your mind, a calming woman's voice, similar to one that you heard when you first imbibed the potion. You are right. And this can be yours too.
This? I'm not sure if I want this.
The voice then disappears, and so does the spider visage. And you now see Ember for the drow that she is.
Eridu, is everything okay?
I'm still, looking in at Ember and not really seeing her have much of a change to what I say, and I say to her, "Come with me. Forsake all of this, as I have. Find a life that you can choose."
She stops crying for a moment, looks up at you, and she looks for a moment shocked and relieved. And then as her eyes are twitching between yours, you can see that a decision's being made inside of her. And a resolution comes across her face. She balls up her hands and punches hard into the ground, creating a huge splash of water, which erupts up, and as it falls down, you can see that she is tunneling down into the ground, disappears beneath the water.
I stand up and brush some of the muck and mud off of me and look at Eigner and say, "Well, for the time, it seems that everything is all right."
If you say so. I'm very confused right now. And Egner is actually going to come over and just give you a huge hug and just let out another huge long sigh. What are we doing?
Eridu doesn't hug him back.
It's okay.
But, yeah.
Rejected.
Okay, so
Alright.
after a little bit, Egner will say, "Alright, how in the hells do we get out of here?" And he'll just start like walking generally in the direction that he came from. Oh wait, the drow armor is still there, right?
It is.
Egner's taking that shit.
I mean,
Forgot
it's
about that.
Damn straight, dude. He's got
it's
some.
not gonna fit him, man. She's
I
not as
know.
big as he
He's
is.
got some drow lady armor, and he's gonna see what he can do with some drow lady armor. It'll make him feel sexy, guys. All right.
Is that magic
okay.
armor?
I'm just trying to decide if
We'll
if
find
Eridu
out.
would- I think he just already disgraced her by shattering her sword. Man, I don't know.
Egner's gonna disgrace her by parading around in her armor.
I think Eridu would just tell Eigner to leave it.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Okay.
so
If you're certain,
she has a choice to make. I think that if we were to add insult to injury right now by disgracing her more, there is no way she will make a choice that is not grounded in hate.
very well. I will respect your
Eridu's just
decision.
a litter bug, just leaving swords and armor and all sorts just lying around.
He really is.
For real,
I mean,
though.
this
real,
isn't
though.
some kind of like side dimension, so it doesn't really matter.
Okay.
Actually, what he will do though is pick up the shattered pieces of sword and look at Eigner and say, "I'm going to try to fix it.
Okay,
I think that is the right call."
sure. Yeah, whatever you say.
You'll be able to find all the large shards. Absolutely fine. You guys find the exit, which is at the base of the large tree that's sort of in the middle of this thing. And walking through it, again, you feel this sort of sinewy sensation, like you're pushing through things, and it's brushing against your face and along your arms. And even though you're wearing clothes, you're wearing armor, it feels as though it's touching every inch of your skin as you're pushing through this. But after what feels like pushing through a few feet of this uncomfortable sensation, you then emerge out of the hill. A layer of mud separating what seems to be the edge of this portal and the mortal realm. So you are actually pushing through the mud on the side of the hill, leaving behind this hole where you've crawled out of. Domini immediately getting fixated on this again, and after seeing the two of you emerge, runs over and starts digging to see what else is down there. Alton, for you, it would have been about 5 minutes, 10 minutes max that's elapsed. In that time, you'll just have seen more. Yeah, you'll just have seen more carts coming and going, but no major activity going on.
Okay.
It
is the dead of night as well. Just to.
As soon as we get out. Eigner is gonna say to Eridu, "What exactly happened in there?"
Oh, well, my past has come back, it appears. I was betrothed to Ember.
Ember.
In the way that the Drows do it, which just means that I was promised to her. And there was no agency in it of myself. I did not love her. And already I had seen the folly in the things I was doing, and I left. Because of this, her father was disgraced, and she has likely lost much respect herself in her community, and she rightfully seeks retribution for that action.
I see. You left her unsatisfied.
Yes.
Do you think she will be a problem for us in the future?
No. She will be a problem for me in the future.
And I'll probably be around you at that time as well.
Mm-hmm. And just like this time, I will probably ask you to not get involved.
Very well. Alton, what have we missed?
Carts.
Mm-hmm.
Is it how light or dark is it?
It's the middle of the night.
Yeah,
Right.
it's late. It's approaching midnight.
Right, but like, is there like a lot of torches or a lot like?
Oh, yeah. So you guys being just outside of the gates, there's no like external lighting. It's all inside the walls.
So
you see a couple of towers where there's a torch just to give them a bit of light nearby, but no like searchlights or anything. And there's just a couple of torches near the gate as well.
right, but how would I? Because I don't have dark vision. How well do I see?
You'll be able to navigate just by the ambient light over the land for the most part, but you'll stumble. But towards the city itself, you'll easily be able to navigate just with the light radiation.
Okay, but I guess the term is, what do I see in terms of like what happened in the last 5 minutes? Like if there's enough light for me to have actually noticed things, or if it was just all I saw was like the close by carts kind of going by close by.
It will just be the close by carts going by
Okay.
that you'll have noticed. There's if there is anything going further afield, you definitely can't see it.
Okay, then yeah, my answer is carts. Carts are the things that have been happening. Not a lot of them. It's pretty late, but carts.
Very well. I believe we have resolved the mystery of who the mysterious person was. And we got to get in here. Whether or not we should do it now with the cover of night or try and find our way in the morning, I'm not entirely sure, but we got to get in here.
I'm going to turn to Lauren and ask her, what was your concern with this place? There seems to be some kind of encampment building up with a dock. Why were you worried about this?
She is leaning up against the hill, sort of flattening herself down and just peering. There's something off about all of this. Why would another dock be constructed? There's twin harbors.
And there's nothing... This is not a shipping port. There is nothing to ship out from here. There is only shipping to here. But what could they be shipping to here?
I don't know. If so many people are coming here and they're building a dock, leaving? I don't know. We need to get in there. We need to find some kind of office where there's plans laid out for this, or of or find someone who knows what's going on.
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah, we could possibly just walk right in. There seems to be quite the assortment of people here who do not seem too out of place.
Yeah. There, I saw humans, I saw halflings, I saw elves. I don't think they'll ask any questions about another human, two halflings, and one elf.
Lauren then turns to look at you all. Well, an elf, a human, and one halfling at any rate. And as she looks back towards the gates...
Wait, what?
As she looks back towards the gates.
Okay.
She squints her eyes. I think those are trail guard uniforms. They're supposed to be working with me. We might be able to get in. We might not.
Huh. Well, that's another layer that I didn't expect.
Hmm.
Do you think? Try and get in through the main gates, or try and find another way?
I am good at trying to get into the main gate.
Doesn't seem like it should be too difficult.
A closer look at the walls reveals that the local activity includes that of a bunch of coast foxes. They have been tunneling near the newly built walls, seemingly attracted by the assortment of worms and grubs disturbed by the land being tilled recently. So it seems that it wouldn't be too difficult for you to widen these tunnels and fit yourselves underneath the wall. It also seems that these walls in their haste have not been dug too far down. You notice that they're rattling a lot in the wind, or rather that is what Alton notices on his closer inspection. That may or may not
I see that, and I come back, and all of a sudden I reappear, and I don't know if you guys didn't notice I was gone, but I just show back up and start telling you guys all this information.
I kind of feel like Alton disappearing and reappearing has become so normal that I don't question it too often.
No.
He's just.
I mean, I caught that Lauren had mentioned, elf, human, and one halfling, so I kind of knew he was gone, but
She must have a high enough passive, or she must have a high enough passive perception of herself.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's the information that we have.
And it's about break time, so...
It is.
Yeah, let's go ahead
Yeah.
and take that break, and then I guess we're gonna try and get into this crazy encampment something or other after all
See
that.
what-
So,
Yeah.
yeah, thanks for sticking around and continuing the story with us. We'll be back in about 10-ish minutes, and we'll get even more exciting stuff going on. Also, Eridu has a girlfriend? What? Hey!
you guys have tried throwing women at him before, and it never really goes far. So
No, well, because obviously he's hung up about Ember, dude. You gotta dish all the details on us, man. All
I
right,
mean,
we'll be gossipy boys even more after we come back from our break. So
again, I resent this assumption of gender you keep throwing at me.
you know what? Just deal with it. All right,